Hey guys, it's Max. The weekend's here. It's time for the top 20 list. Thank you guys for being here. We'll do the long-term max factor first. Coming in number 20, we have CLM from Cornerstone. Been around since 2002. That's impressive. It's impressive. Comes in number 20 with a 17% yield and a 30% one-year total return with only a 9 volatility. I mean, low volatility, high yield, high return. What's not to like, right? And there's 19 better ones than this. Now, this is the long-term list, so these funds are ones that have been around for at least a year. Then coming in at 19, also these are high-yield funds. They have to at least make 6%. They'll at least pay 6%, either through distributions, dividends, however. IDVO coming in at number 19. Now, it only has a 5.25% yield. I said it had to yield 6%. We made an exception. IDVO is a good one. A lot of people like that one. You get a lot of upside with those lower yielding ones. Next, at number 18 is YETH. Now, we have an 82% yield here. If you want some yield, there you go. There's some yield. Now, what goes along with that yield is a 57 volatility. Anyway, number 17, Taiwan Semiconductor, it's TSMY. That's Taiwan Semiconductor-based high-yield covered call fund from YieldMax, yielding 55.46%. Quarterly NAV return is flat, really basically nothing. But the one-year total return's 28% on this baby. All right, number 16 is iGold. Now, the precious metals have been hot. The yield on this is almost 16%. We'll call it 16%. We'll just round that up. One-year total return is darn near 30%. I mean, how come I don't have any of this in the portfolio? This thing has a one-year total return of 30%, a 16% yield, and a return just for this quarter, not including dividends, of 9.67%. That's going to be hard to beat, but there's 15 better. And number 15, we have OARC yielding 50% based on ARC, another YieldMax fund. Number 14, we have GUI, another YieldMax fund based on Google, yielding 41%. The one-year total return of 27%. A lot of great performance. SLVO, more precious metals. This one's based on silver. One-year return of 36% with a yield of 18%. We have Coney coming into number 12, yielding 144%. Now, it's had some problems, some issues with NAV lately. The part of the reason it yields so high is because the NAV's pulled back. We all know that and understand how it works. The quarterly return has actually been kind of bad at down 18%. But even when you factor that all in, it's still the 12th best long-term fund if you also factor in the past year fund we have. But that means there's 11 better. Let's see if your fund's on the list. Number 11, Misty. Boy, my friend Jonathan will like this one. You guys might know him as Ambassador of Quan. Is that his name? Ambassador of Quan anyway, from Twitter. All right. Misty at number 11. I mean, this one also had some NAV issues. I mean, we'll be the first to admit, especially lately, not over the past year so much, but lately been having a few issues, kind of a rough quarter. But even when you factor in this quarter, this figure right here includes this quarter. So anyway, number 10, YBIT yielding 74%, one-year total return of 47%. Great job. Then we have YBTC right behind it, yielding about half as much, but offering a little bit more total return. Quarterly NAV return is about the same. Boy, the NAV return hasn't been great on YBIT or YBTC. They're both down about 5%. Now, granted, they're paying 74 and 45%, so no one's really that concerned. But lots of times the NAV will do better on those, but not this quarter. It's kind of weird. I mean, Bitcoin's at an all-time high pretty much. Anyway, Snowy at number 8, 73% yield and a 60% 1-year total return. Been doing bad this quarter. It's down 13% this quarter. All right. Then we have Goop. Now, Goop's the opposite. It's been doing great this quarter, but it hasn't done as well over the past year. Goop's 1-year total return's only 32%, where Snowy had about twice that much, but it's had kind of a trash quarter. Well, Goop is the opposite, is in the opposite boat, going the opposite way, yielding 16%. And Goop's a good one from our friends over there at Curve. Number 6, we have GDXY. I have a bunch of this in my portfolio. I think it's about 20% of my portfolio. It's been doing great for me, yielding 39%. I have it on full drip. 1-year total return of 38%. I'm loving that. The return just for this quarter is plus 17. Does not include dividends. All right, number 5, Tesla. Boy, this thing's a beast. 102% yield. You know, what's not to like? Number 4, Babo. Wow, look at Babo, 53% yield. Quarterly return of 32%. Just the NAV is up 32% this quarter. Holy cow. I almost got to think that's wrong. Is that there's no way that's right. We're going to look at the spreadsheet here in a little while. Anyway, TSLP number 3. I mean, you know, 39% yield, quarterly NAV. It's just killing it this quarter. Maxi, flat on the quarter, but I mean, it's doing great on the year. You know, 85% 1-year return with about a 30% yield. And number 1 is Palti. Wow, look at this one. Okay, well, look at this. 83% yield with 119% 1-year total return. Well, what that really means, those two numbers together, it means that yield was supported by that return. In other words, if you could have, or a fund that paid that yield out, the NAV return is higher than the yield, so you wouldn't have had any type of NAV problems. Even if you were spending, you would have still had it, even if anyway. That's always a good sign. I mean, the ones that have the worst NAV problems, it doesn't mean they're bad funds necessarily, but they're the ones where it's the inverse, where the yield's 183, like Misty. Not a bad fund, it's a great fund, but they've had problems lately, and you can see it right here, where the yield's a lot higher than the total return. So it's not really totally supported. But anyway, all right. So there we have it. We usually do the long-term second. We did the long-term first. I hope you guys like that. Okay, so let's go do the short-term, why don't we? This is the big one. This really is the max factor. I made the long-term list kind of for Jonathan and for other people, but because the short-term list is, I wanted to make a list that was more that might have Misty on it, and sure enough, the long-term list has Misty on it all the time. Lots of times it does. Misty was on it for a while, but then Misty dropped off lately. All right. Let's go to the short-term list and see what's going on. Number 20, we have Chippy at the 34% yield. Great job, Chippy. We never talk about that one. Pretty reasonable volatility in the 17 vol. K-Gold from our friends over at Curve, 7.38% dividend yield and a quarterly NAV return of 16%. Happily, great job. Happily, 34% yield. 1-year total return of only 4%, but in any event, great job, Apley. Doing great this quarter. Maybe not so great the past year. Now, Gold Eye is doing great this quarter and the past year. 1-year total return of 24%, Gold Eye. Quarterly, just now only a 5%, plus you're paying about a 14% yield. Heck yes. Precious metals is kind of the theme today. I think you guys will see. Precious metals, Google, Tesla. I mean, you know, from the other ones, it's basically kind of the theme, right? Anyway, in China, I guess, because we had Baba. Anyway, here we have Clip. This high yield fund based on KWeb, which is a which is an ETF based on Chinese tech companies, Chinese internet companies. Anyway, these guys do a great job. They sell covered calls on this index and these companies. You'll need about 32%. All right, coming in number 15, we have NV2 from our friends at Rec Shares. It's just been out since May 28th, but it's already projecting a yearly yield of about 36%. Quarterly NAV return is 11.7%. I mean, that's monstrous. That's monstrous. I probably don't need to remind you guys because I say it all the time, but these guys have a great strategy. They're doing synthetic, which I think is better, synthetic covered call spreads, and they're using a little bit of leverage. But they're only doing it on half the portfolio. They're only selling options on half the portfolio, so half the portfolio just can grow, and it has a little bit of leverage on it. So anyway, NV2 is an interesting one to watch out for. It's from Rec Shares. Anything that ends in the 2 or the 2 I's. All right. Next is 14, XYLG from our friends at Global X. Number 13 is Blocks. I like this one from our friends at X Funds, right? Yeah. It'd be David Nicholas. And these guys are sharp. And this thing's special, but let's just look at the numbers. The yield so far is 28.06. Been out since June 17th. I've been saying I was going to buy it pretty much the whole time. And I sat on my hands in July and August and September. Well, I got it right at the end of I should have got it sooner. This thing's been a monster. Anyway, yeah, quarterly NAV return of 22%. I don't really know how it's so low on this stupid list. I need to redo the freaking algorithm. But it's the volatility. I want ones that yield a lot and have a lot of return, but at a reasonable price also. I mean, so anyway, let's see. But I mean, it's amazing to me this is 13th on the list. I mean, come on. Anyway, now GUI does deserve to be higher. It's based on Google. It's had a heck of a run. It's less volatile. It's a good fund. I don't have any problem with GUI. GUI's yielding 41%. What are you going to do? Now, iGold's back to the precious metal theme. This thing yields 15.98%. 1 year total return to 29.69. Maybe when we have our battle royale, we'll do a gold and silver one or something. Anyway, yeah, which one to get? iGold, K-Gold, Gold I, Gold Y. Number 10, Silvo. Back to the precious metals theme, yielding 18.2. Quarterly NAV return, excluding the dividend, 13%. NAV only this quarter. Heck yes. Number 9, YETH, based on Ethereum, quarterly NAV return, 13%. No dividend. Oh, and by the way, the dividend, or it's not really dividend, it's a distribution, but the distribution is yielding around 82%. So, but now that's the good news. The bad news is we had a 1 year total return last year of 1%. So anyway, but this year's a new year. Come on, Ether. This is the year of Ether. Number 8. Tesla, this thing's yielding 102%, is up almost 9% on the quarter. Number 7 is Goop. This thing's yielding almost 17%, but is up 25%, nearly 26% on the quarter. That's insane, especially when you consider it's up 32% over the past year, and it's a low volatility. 20 is a reasonable volatility. Anyway, TSLW, Tesla, Goop, it's Tesla, Goop, or precious metals, right? Those are kind of the themes, or Goop, Google, Tesla, Google, precious metals. But back to the Tesla. It's just, pick your poison, name your adventure, however you want to think of it. This one yields 39.13. I mean, and this has a quarterly NAV return of 27%. Now, this is from Roundhill, and they use a little bit of leverage, and they use swaps, and they do a little different deal there. Whatever they're doing, I mean, they're putting up the numbers. It's hard for me to believe there's 5 better. I mean, that's pretty good numbers there. Now, the one bad thing to that number, it's a 50 volatility, meaning just about 5 times as volatile as the market. So it could be a crazy ride, but it could be a rocket ship too. All right. Number 5, Hui. Speaking of a wild ride, it has a 46 vol. So, not much safer at all. Not much safer at all. Quarterly NAV return is 14%. That's a great job, yielding 77%. Good job, Hui. Good job, Hui. Number 4. GDXY. Okay, this one's a good one, yielding 39%, quarterly NAV return of nearly 18%, and a 1-year total return nearly 40%. I mean, that one's really, it's been a heck of a run for GDX and GDXY. Number 3, TS2 from Rex. Okay, going back to the Tesla theme, but we're back on the Rex, the 2 series funds. So we were talking about those just a little while ago. Those are the ones they sell. They write options on half the portfolio, but they also use a little bit of leverage. Anyway, these guys do a good job. And they even call it their growth plus income fund, or growth, and they have, half of the fund is levered and unencumbered by options. So, and the other half of the fund, it makes enough off options to pay a decent yield. I mean, is 33% enough yield for you? Now, I bet you if we compare TS2 to TSLY, Tesla, I bet the yield's about half as much, because that's what YieldMax does. It pays max yield, but this is going to pay probably about half as much yield, but probably get about twice as much upside. Maybe that should be our battle royale tonight, is TS2 versus TSLY. Anyway, let's see what number 2 is. TSLP. Now, this thing is good too. This thing does even a different strategy, but these guys write options on the whole portfolio, but they don't do the weekly options. They do the monthly options. And it may not seem like a big deal, but it is. It makes it where they yield a little less than YieldMax, about half what YieldMax does, but get more upside. And you look at TS2, they're super competitive. They're right there getting the same. So TSLP's from Curve, no leverage, but they just use the tasty trade method. They go out a month. They sell monthly. They actually go out 6 weeks and then cover them at about 2 weeks. They just the tasty trade methodology pretty much. Anyway, and that works too. That's a tried and true methodology. And you can see it. If you're a tasty trader, you can see it working here. Curve is close to the tasty trade. All right. Who's number 1? Who is number 1? Let's look. It's Bobo. Now, Bobo, look at this thing. 53% yield, 1-year total return at 24, quarterly return of 36. You've got to be kidding me. That's insane. Okay, I don't care about Bobo. I'm sorry, I don't. Let's do TSLP, and let's look at some Tesla comparisons. And then we're going to look at 1 or 2 other things. We're going to see where some of your favorite funds were, because the ones that didn't make the list. So we have TS2, and let's look here, TSLP. Well, I mean, that TS2 has that little bit of leverage, and you can see that little bit of leverage from Rex, just helps. Not to mention they're only riding on half the portfolio. TSLP rides on the whole portfolio, but TSLP still does a lot better than TSLY will do. Watch this. And I just know from not that TSLY isn't a good one. If you want yield, TSLY may be the one you need to get. But if you're looking for less yield, TSLP might work. And in this case, TSLP, even though it has less yield, has quite a bit better total return. And that's because they're using the tasty trade method. The tasty trade method is a tried and true method, but it's not the only way to do it. There's lots of other ways to do it, but that's definitely benefiting them. Okay, so let's go see where your favorites finished here. So this is the newest list. Okay, so first of all, let's look at Max's Moxie ranking. I think it may already be sorted by it, but let's see it again. All right, so number one on Max's Moxie is Alti, and Alti's a monster. I mean, Alti's a monster. All right, number two is TSYY. Did you guys hear the Granite Shares interview today? I tuned in an hour late. And I just caught the end of it. I was so disappointed. I need to go listen to the repeat. Anyway, fiat doesn't really count because it's an inverse, but USOI is a tough fund. It has a lot of potential. Look, it's paying 110% yield. Yeah, the NAV has not been great lately. I mean, it is oil, but I'm saying it has potential. It's only a 19. It's only about twice as volatile as the market, but it pays 100. Anyway, it has potential. So that's why I got a high rating on Max's Moxie. WDTE has a ton of potential. Has not really been showing it lately. Triple QI. Triple QI. Well, WDT and Triple QI made 9% for the year total return. I mean, that's, it's not nothing. It's not nothing, but they pay that super high yield, Anyway, all right. So, and IWMY is right there also, but they're super safe. Gold Y also super safe. YMAX. Now, I know I won't get much argument from a lot of people. YMAX is one of the best ones on here, and this one definitely has a lot of maxi. Volatility is only a 15, so it's only about 50% more volatile than the market in general, yet it's yielding 66%. It's fully diverse. 90 days ago, its NAV went from 13 to 12. Okay, its NAV is down a little bit, but it's yielding 66. Come on. YMAX is a good one. XDTE, I know that's another one I wouldn't get a lot of argument about. That's a good one also. NAV is flat on the past 90 days, but it's yielding 30%. All right, and there's NVYY from our friends at Granite Shares. So let's see what else didn't make the list. Okay, we looked at Alti. Let's look at Misty. Or let's see on some other ones on here. There's some good ones. A lot of these are good. Maggie's a great one right there. It's flat on the quarter. It went from 56 to 56 on the quarter, yielding 31% though, with the 12 volatility. I really like that. I really like Maggie. And what is Maggie Round Hill? It is Round Hill, right? And then there's they're also doing a fund where they sell options on that fund. MagW. Anyway, but that's a really interesting one to me. LFGY is a great one that people don't give enough credit to, but LFGY is a good one. What else do we have in here that are good ones that we don't talk about? Well, here's iGold all the way down here. Most of the gold ones are higher. This one, I don't know what's the matter with it. It's up 10% on the quarter, paid a 15% yield. Oh, it's because it's a Moxie rate ranking. It's lower on the Moxie ranking but not necessarily a bad stock. Let's say which ones have the worst Moxie. I love this. The worst Moxie is SCHD. It has negative Moxie. That's why I don't like it. It's why none of us that are in the high yield, because SCHD, you take a relatively low yield for all the stability, right? Well, the stability is kind of a myth, because what you're doing is it's overly stable. It's the volatility is super low, but the yield is also super low. You could do a covered call fund with just a teeny bit more risk and have 3 times the yield. You guys know it. So anyway, SCHD dead to me. And sure enough, it's the last one on this list, because just because it actually, in relation to its volatility, it actually has kind of pathetic yield, but anyway, all right. So let's see. I want to do one other thing here. Let's do a little long-term short over here. All right. So that's impressive me. Palti went straight to the number 1 on the long-term list. I haven't seen it around much lately. It's been on the long-term list lately. It's been Maxi but anyway, Palti just slid right in up here. It's even down on the quarter, but when it has a 1-year total return of 119%, and you pair that with an 83% yield, heck, that yield is almost supported by the return, or it is supported by the return. In Palti's case, and we talked about that, Palti can pay that yield and still have positive NAV. Even if you didn't count the yield, that's incredible. And of course you do count the yield, but even if you didn't count the yield, the NAV would still be positive on Palti. That's incredible. Whereas on Maxi, for instance, same thing. Even if you didn't count the yield, you'd still be positive on Maxi. Maxi's a good one also. But there's ones that you wouldn't be, like Tesla. Tesla, you have a 1-year total return of 35%, which is great, but you have a yield of 102. So it's not totally supported by the NAV. So you get return of capital and you get decreasing NAV, or you have at least, this past year. All right. There's Misty right there. I just wanted to make sure we talked about Misty. I know it's one that a lot of people love. So let's just look at it. 90 days ago, it was at 20. Now it's at 14. Okay, well, that sucks. It's down 28%. Ooh, that's just NAV though. That's the good thing. That's just NAV. So when you include this yield, well, it comes to like 4.16. When you factor in what it projected, it's positive for sure. But in the 1-year total return is 52%. So it's hard to ignore those guys. All right, guys. So I hope you guys like the max factor. I'm trying to make sure I told you everything about it. But remember, it's just my own metric. It's backwards looking. It's not forwards looking. But I really think it's a valid metric. I think too many people look at these funds at just the yield or at just the NAV return. All right. And they work opposite of each other. And I think too many people are just ultra focused on one and the other. But I'm trying to show people how they work as a team and how to focus on. There's funds in here that, because of the option strategies, effectively manage risk and can pay yields that are somewhat realistic and can be supported by the NAV return. And those are the ones that usually go right to the top of my list. So that's why I like to look at those. But like I say, it doesn't mean they'll be there next month. That's anyone's guess. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.